Mohamed Mokaev breaks his silence after being put to sleep by Arman Tsarukyan. Mohamed Mokaev has declared that he will never again make such a drastic move up in weight after Arman Tsarukyan choked him unconscious in Brazil. The brave CF flyweight champion is completely unbeaten in the cage, but competes at 125 pounds. However, when Tsarukyan's rematch with Georgiopoulos was moved to the March 28 RAF wrestling event, Mokaev stepped in on just a few days' notice to keep the UFC lightweight on the card. However, after a solid 8 minutes of defensive work, the size difference became too much for Mokaev and he was caught in a rear naked choke. He refused to tap out and as a result ended up being put to sleep altogether. Mohamed Mokaev moving back down in weight after Arman Tsarukyan mismatch. Since his amateur days as a youngster, Mohamed Mokaev has always been dominant in MMA. He even went undefeated during his run with the UFC, only being released due to issues with matchmakers outside of the octagon. He did lose a split decision at ADXC in 2024, but Wednesday night's defeat to Arman Tsarukyan was his first legitimately devastating defeat since likely his childhood. And he was visibly emotional leaving the cage in footage shared by Red Corner MMA. However, he seemed to have found the funny side after the fact, writing on X that he would be returning to his rightful division as soon as possible. Back to flyweight, he wrote, along with a laughing emoji and a shrugging one. Never give away 25 kilograms anymore. The weight difference, even if they were weighing in at their fighting limits, would not be quite that extreme. Tsarukyan tends to tip the scales at 156 pounds, while Mokaev is 125 pounds, meaning a 31 pounds or around 14 kilograms. However, the Armenian's weight was not recorded for this bout and was simply marked as X on graphics during the broadcast. And the size difference was very evident when they began to engage in the ring. In a later tweet, Mokaev added to the sentiment writing, "Zero excuses. If I get another opportunity like this in my life, I will take it again and again." Competed against one of the best lightweights on 2 days' notice, 45 pounds difference. Win or learn, go out there and challenge yourself, that's the message to all youth. See you at the top. After the bout, they were both respectful of one another, but Tsarukyan acknowledged that his level of competition would need to improve, at least from a size perspective. He proceeded to call out Charles Oliveira for a rematch of their razor-close UFC 300 fight, as well as controversial black belt Dylan Dennis. Mohamed Mokaev breaks silence after grappling loss to Arman Tsarukyan. Former UFC flyweight standout Mohamed Mokaev has finally addressed his reaction after being submitted and rendered unconscious in a high-profile grappling match against lightweight contender Arman Tsarukyan at Hype Brazil in Rio de Janeiro. Mokaev, known for his impressive MMA skills and competitive spirit, moved up several weight classes on very short notice to accept the grappling challenge. Despite a valiant effort, he found himself on the defensive as Tsarukyan used his size and pressure to secure a rear-naked choke that put Mokaev to sleep in the 7th minute of the bout. In his first public comment since the loss, Mokaev praised Tsarukyan's performance and acknowledged the challenge of stepping into an opponent's strength zone, saying the experience gave him valuable perspective even in defeat. He also reiterated his focus on improving his grappling and return to top-level competition, hinting that setbacks like this fuel his motivation rather than dampen it. Tsarukyan, meanwhile, celebrated the win and used the opportunity to set his sights on future elite matchups, including possible bouts with stars like Charles Oliveira and Dylan Dennis.